absence. We have one from Ian Entage. We also have apologies from Alex and Chris, who had both hoped to be here today but couldn't make it to other commitments. I do have that Paul Bolton is online, but can't see him on screen. But Emma's there.
Paul, I'm here. Paul is having a few IT issues and will be there as soon as he can. It should be a couple of minutes at the most. Apologies.
No problem. Any declarations of interest that not previously been declared or relevant to the agenda today? No, thank you very much. If we move on to the consent agenda, and we have the draft minutes of the Audit Assurance Committee held on 7th of May, and also the action log from that same meeting. So I assume everyone's read the minutes. Is there any points of accuracy anybody wants to raise? No. Are you happy for me to, if you're happy to approve the minutes and for me to sign the minutes? Yeah. Thank you. Moving on to the action log received, and they're all down as completed. So we'll take them as read and noted. And then any matters arising from those minutes or action logs that's not on the agenda that anybody wants to pick up now? No, thank you very much. Right then, move on to the meat of the meeting, which is all the papers relating to the annual report and accounts, and we'll kick off with the performance report.
Diolch yn fawr iawn, Cadeirydd. Felly, papur sy'n gofyn am gymeradwyaeth ydy hon. Mae'n bleser cael cyflwyno adroddiad perfformiad AGIC ar gyfer y flwyddyn 2025-2026. Mae'r papur wrth gwrs yn amnellu perfformiad AGIC ar gyfer y llynedd, a mae'n cynnwys y cynnydd yn erbyn ein blaenoriaethau strategol ynghyd â perfformiad cyffredinol y corff. Y bwriad ydy cyflwyno'r perfformiad hyn fel rhan o'r adroddiad blynyddol i Lywodraeth Cymru erbyn 10/20 o Fehefin. A da ni wedi derbyn sylwadau gan y cadeirydd yn y cyfamser cyn y cyfarfod, a fi fyddwn ni'n corffori'r sylwadau hynny fewn i'r ddogfen. Felly da ni'n gofyn ysgolch na bod y Pwyllgor yn ystyried y perfformiad ac hefyd yn argymell i fod yn cael ei gymeradwyo gan y bwrdd yn ei gyfarfod wythnos diwetha cyn ei gyflwyno fo i Lywodraeth Cymru. Felly, diolch yn fawr iawn, Cadeirydd.
Diolch fawr. Open it up to anybody raising any questions on the performance reports. So I have one question, just a clarification, or I know the answer from David, in terms of what is the process of signing off the performance report before it came to the Audit and Assurance Committee?
Yeah, so just to confirm, as we discussed, it was shared with the Chief Exec and the Deputy Chief Executive beforehand for comment. It has been drafted. It's been quite an effort to pull the document together. We've had contributions from across all of the directors, as you'd expect, and it's been quite a process to get there, but it has been considered by the Chief Exec. The Chief Exec comments reports come before the meeting today.
Yes. Thank you, Darren. My comments as chair was to thank everybody for the performance report. It's very comprehensive. It's also, when you get to the risks part of the paper and your key issues and risks affecting delivery, very honest and fair assessments of the challenges we faced and what you've reported as a team to the board throughout the year. So those are the general comments. So yes, thank everybody for the production of the report. So we've asked to consider, I had a final one, I got to remember. There is reference to in the audit, sorry, John. Cut silence, we can't hear you.
Sorry, can I just make note for record more than anything, Chair? Just so that it's noted that this report has previously been seen by us as IMs. We've commented on this report previously, and those comments have been included in this iteration. So there are no further questions, but I think it's important to note that it has been scrutinised by members of this committee. I know it's stating the obvious, but for record, I think it's important.
Thank you, John. No, it's very, very important to note that. Thank you. The other comment I wanted to make was that with reference to a paper that's later on the agenda, which is the Audit Wales report, there are a couple of references to the performance report in terms of minor misstatements that have been corrected, and also within the auditor's opinion about I have not identified any material misstatements in the performance reports or the governance statements, and I welcome that comment. That's in there. So it's worthwhile noting at that part, because it's not just the accounts you're looking at, you are also giving very useful contributions in terms of the other parts of the annual report documentation. So thank you.
Yeah, so we do review the reports for consistency with our knowledge and consistency with the accounts as well. So there are just some minor discrepancies regarding some dates of people starting and leaving and things like that, and tying up the figures in the accounts, the figures in the performance report as well for the latest versions. And we also made a recommendation from our performance colleagues actually to just put an extra bit of information in regarding one of our recent reports. So that's been included and some extra paragraphs within there. So yeah, so they're very minor things, but yeah, overall we were pleased with it.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So if there are no other comments or points to be raised, we as a committee are being asked to consider the performance report and recommend that it's approved by the board for submission to the Welsh Government by 30th of June this year. We happy? Thank you very much. Moving on to 3.2, the annual accountability reports.
Diolch yn fawr iawn, Cadeirydd. Felly, papur yn gofyn am gymeradwyaeth ydy hon unwaith eto, mae'n rhan o'r adroddiadau blynyddol. Beth da ni'n gofyn ydy bod y Pwyllgor yn ystyried y ddogfen ac yn gyfnodi bod ni cyflwynogaeth bron y bwrdd ar gyfer gymeradwyaeth wythnos nesaf cyn bod yn ymlaen i Lywodraeth Cymru. Mae'r adroddiad atebolrwydd yn cynnwys 3 rhan yn benodol. Yn gyntaf, y datganiad llywodraethu, yn ail, yr adroddiad cydnabyddiaeth ariannol, falstaff, ac yn drydydd, yr adroddiad atebolrwydd seneddol ac archwilio. Byddwch yn ymwybodol bod y Pwyllgor eisoes wedi ystyried y trafft o'r ddogfen hon yn y cyfarfod ar y 3 ar 20 o mis Ebrill, a diolch i aelodau'r Pwyllgor am y sylwadau amdano y drafft hynny. Felly, da ni'n gofyn os gwelwch yn dda bod y Pwyllgor yn ystyried yr adroddiad ac yn argymell i fod yn cael ei gymeradwyo gan y bwrdd wythnos nesaf cyn i fod yn cael ei gyflwyno i Llywodraeth Cymru cyn y 10 ar 20 o Fehefin. Diolch.
As David mentioned, the draft of the governance statement has been to us in April. The other thing then is the remuneration report, which is part of the documentation, and we received that in the May meeting. So I think we've had a good chance. I know the comments and contributions have been reflected within the reports. So are there any other comments or questions anybody wants to raise with regards to the annual accountability reports? No? Thank you. So, as a committee, we're asked to consider the accountability report and to recommend it to approved by the board for submission to the Welsh Government by the 30th of June. Yeah. Thank you. Moving on to then the presentation of the annual accounts.
Thank you, Chair. I think it's fair to say it's a pleasure to present the annual accounts for 2025-26 to the Audit Assurance Committee. Before I go into the paper, I would as well just like to thank I think both the finance team and Audit Wales colleagues for the way in which the annual accounts process has worked this year. It's, I think reflecting on many annual accounts and year-end processes, this one's worked particularly well, and that's very much down to colleagues in the finance team, but also colleagues from Audit Wales, the way that they've approached the audit. But I think the diligence with which people have actually produced the accounts and supporting notes. So I just wanted to sort of put that on record first, really. My thanks it makes my job presenting today a lot easier when it's done really professionally and actually the manner in which the audit review is done and operates between Audit Wales and colleagues in HIW has been really smooth and still open to challenge and scrutiny, which is absolutely right, but actually done in I think a respectful and professional way. So in terms of the annual accounts, I think the important things to note really are that we have two statutory financial duties. One is to operate within our revenue budget or revenue resource limit, and for last year we achieved a surplus of about just over £500,000. And then the second one is around operating within our capital budget or capital resource limit, and we achieved a small surplus of about £58,000, and that's reflected in the annual accounts. We also have an administrative target around paying invoices promptly. It's called Public Sector Payment Policy, or PSPP. This target of paying at least 95% of our non-NHS invoices within a 30-day target, and we exceeded that target. And again, that's really important in our role as a large public sector body, that we're paying invoices, paying suppliers on a proper basis, particularly those that are perhaps small and medium-sized businesses. So it's more than just an administrative target in that respect. Attached to the paper, we've also produced an appendix of some of the variances. So just looking at some of the movement in income and expenditure between 24-25 financial year and last year, and again just some high-level explanation around where and how some of that spend has moved. And again, I think it's quite helpful sometimes to see that in the context of the wider performance report, and hopefully it aligns with some of the things that we've seen in terms of delivering on key IMGP objectives. So paper and the annual accounts are here for Audit and Assurance Committee to scrutinise. Before we ask the Audit Committee to, I suppose, endorse a recommendation to the board for approval next week, obviously this is subject to the audit review that was undertaken by Audit Wales, and you'll see later on in the agenda we've got the Audit of Accounts report, which is their opinion. So I'll pause there, but the recommendation essentially is that we're asking the committee to endorse the set of accounts for approval by the board, obviously subject to the Audit of Accounts report. Hopefully that makes sense. It's always feels like a slightly convoluted process, but a really important one.
No, it's very important that we have the auditor's report before we actually go to the recommendations relating to this. So I'll just open up to any questions anybody might have on the accounts and then the report on the accounts. No, it's fine. We've had the draft accounts previously. We could have a discussion about financial performance. You produced that report analysing, which answered all my questions anyway, so I'm not going to ask any questions on that side, the analysis side of it. And then in the performance report, and so section 21, there's more detailed analysis, a lot of narrative terms of actually what caused the financial performance. So it's very comprehensive. So what's the explanations that are there? Okay, so the questions at that point will go to the Audit Wales report, and we'll come back to the recommendations after we've picked up the Wales report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chair. So today we present our Audit of Accounts report. So if I can take you to our audit at a glance page on page 5 of the report. So it's an excellent snapshot of the audit findings. A great report, an unqualified opinion being proposed, no significant matters to report to you today, no uncorrected misstatements within the accounts, and we haven't actually raised any formal recommendations for the committee to review today either. So a really excellent report, and this reflects the competence and professionalism of Martin, Sarah, Glyn, from the account side, but also David and Sarah producing the narrative a bit as well, because mustn't underestimate how they all can be gathered to produce the final document. So just to run through a few points of clarification for you to consider as a committee. So we've audited the accounts with a materiality of 2.895 million. So that's what drives our risk assessment and our testing approach as well. And we report to you today anything above our reporting threshold of 193,000. We also audit to a lower materiality in some areas. So the remuneration report, for example, we audit to the 5k bands, salary bandings, and also related party disclosures. We look for £10,000 for individuals as well. So rather than go through what we haven't got to report, I just thought it might be useful to go through some of the work we have done with regards to addressing the audit risks that we identified at our planning stage. So in Appendix 1, we list those out. So the risk of management override, our testing with journals and estimates produced no errors, and we concluded that area was satisfactory. With regards to the remuneration disclosures, we did identify one underpayment, which has now been rectified to your senior members of staff, and this resulted in a change of the banding within the remuneration report that's presented to you today. There were some other minor amends with dates and things, but nothing else significant within that. So that was a satisfactory outcome as well. With regards to related party disclosures, we didn't find any errors or omissions in our work in that area. And indeed, with regards to commissioning receivables, which has been in our radar for the past few years, the process is in place now to make these material estimates are robust. So we didn't find any errors or omissions with that side of things either. And then finally, we come on to a capital resource limit risk that we identified following last year's work. We identified some additional capital expenditure, which caused the problem with the breach of the capital resource limit and things like that. So during the year, Martin and the team put in place quite a lot of procedures and more testing to undertake review of capital expenditure to ensure that CapEx is being picked up and accounted for in the correct way. So we reviewed that and we agreed that was a very thorough process, and our sample testing also didn't identify any errors in this respect either. So we're really pleased with the work that's been going on in the year in that area. Okay. So with regards Appendix 2, then you can see that the summary of corrections made are very few and far between, which is a really, really good report. The report does mention on page 4, if I can take you back to there in our introduction, because at the time of writing this report for the committee, we did still have a few items outstanding with our testing of a single lead employer payments transactions. So we've been undertaking this work in conjunction with our colleagues from the Pwyllgor audit team who audit shared services. We did identify one error within our sample testing of these payments. It was a very trivial error, which was identified whereby an uplift hadn't been applied to the salary calculation. So we undertook some further work in this area to see whether that was something that hadn't been applied to the remainder of the people at the same level or same grade as that one person. And our work confirmed that it wasn't a systemic issue and was more of a case-by-case issue that would need to be rectified individually. So no statement above our trivial limit, and overall we were satisfied that the SLE costs included within the accounts presented to you today are not materially misstated. Okay. So what's next? So the sections of the accounts that are before you today will need to be combined into one PDF report. We will check that report then for accuracy. Next week, hopefully the board will approve your accounts and sign the letter of representation as well. So then we've got a date with the Auditor General on Friday the 27th to recommend an unqualified audit opinion to him. We will then submit the accounts alongside the associated returns that Martin's team have prepared to go with the report, and then we need to submit that to Welsh Government by the 30th. So we'll either do it next Friday afternoon or first thing Monday morning, depending on how things go next Friday. And we'll also lay it to Senate as well soon after. So that's what's next. I just want to say a big thank you as well to all that have helped us with our audit queries, especially the accounts team, as they've had the brunt of that inflow with all the queries on there, but also the wider HIW as well with regard to payroll queries and things like that. So there were big thanks from us. Happy to take any questions on the report or any.
Thank you, Helen. Are there any questions or comments on the report? I've read many audit reports over the years, and this to me is a very clean report. No specific recommendations, as Helen mentioned. Likewise, when we get to the letter of representation, you're not asking for any HIW specific representation. They are generic. So that, to me, that gives me great assurance in terms of the work that's been done and everything else. And once we look at the final accounts and the audit report today, it's a straightforward process to us as a committee, but I do not underestimate the work that's been put in by both the finance team here in terms of preparing and answering all the queries, but also the work of Audit Wales in auditing. And you're trying to do this in a very condensed time frame, both sets of teams. So thank you for both teams for all the work that's been done with that regardless. So if there's no other comments, if we go back to the recommendations. So if we first take the recommendations relating to the Audit Wales one, so we note the audit of accounts report and then recommend the audit of accounts be considered by the board on the 24th of June. Yeah. I'd like to make another recommendation because the letter of representation is there. So I'd like that we, as a committee, recommend to the board that they approve the chair and chief exec to sign the letter of representation because it gives we're giving assurance to the chair and chief exec. So committee member colleagues are happy with that additional recommendation. I'd like to put that in to the minutes. Thank you. If we then go back to the accounts, one. Sorry, we'll pick through. So following consideration of the Audit Wales Audit of Accounts Report 25-26, members are asked to consider the audited annual accounts of the Health Education Improvement Wales 25-26 and provide a recommendation to the Health Education Improvement Wales Board to approve the audited accounts for 25-26. Are we happy to recommend? Yes. Thank you very much. And then move on to the final internal audit opinion and annual report for 25-26. Over to you, Paul.
Thank you, Chair. I'll just say a very brief few words on this. As you will recall, Emma presented the report, the draft report at the last committee, and this is the final version of that report here today. No real changes to the report from the draft because we had completed all of our field work before the last committee, so that's great. The only small update is in section 3, which is the work undertaken at other organisations, and you may have noted in the last report the shared services internal audit work there had the table needed to be updated, but that work is all concluded now, and so that has been updated and reflected in this report, and it was all positive from their side as well. Just to reiterate, then it was a substantial assurance opinion for HEIW this year.
Thank you, Paul.
Yep, that's it. That's all I was going to say.
Thanks. Any questions or comments on the final internal audit report? I think it is a very good report in terms of the outcomes and the substantial assurance, as we discussed last time round. in a very high standard that we will hope to maintain going forward, but it will always subject to whichever audit report or areas that you look in each and every year. But it is a good target to go for, and we target 7 when it comes to 1st of August. Sorry, but yeah, thank you, and thanks Paul and the team for the work as this year. You've been in line in terms of timescales, and in terms of the responsiveness. The KPIs are very good. The number of recommendations are down, so it's overall it's a very good, also a very good, performance. I think in terms of assurance that we're having on the work of the teams within the HIW. So, in terms of, so we're asked to receive the final internal audit annual report and head of internal audit opinion, and we can see that the findings of that has been built into the governance statements, which we consider doing again. So we're happy to that. That's great. Thank you very much. Part 4, for information, none. Part 5, any other business? I have one. Anybody else got any other business they want to raise today? No. I believe, Glyn, this is your final Audit and Assurance Committee meeting in HIW before you run off to the distance, per se. It's very much that you're going out with a bang. Very much, it's a very positive Audit Wales report in terms of the accounts and also the internal audit report. I, on behalf of committee members and former committee members, I'd like to thank you for your contribution to the audit committee in terms of all the work that you've done, the assurance you provided, and the honest answers that you've given to our sometimes stupid questions, sometimes sensible questions. We hope you have the best in terms of your new career, but very much thank you for your contribution to it. I know you'll be thanked again at the board in due course and everything else. So, and from a personal level, thank you very much, because when I joined here, having Glyn as a director of finance actually was a positive thing and I applied. So, so I do welcome all of your contributions to the organisation. Thank you, Glyn.
Thank you very much, and I just say a big thank you. I probably do this at the board as well, but I'm an opportunity just to thank audit committee members, because it actually gives me a lot of confidence when things that we do are rightly challenged robustly, but actually you will always be very supportive as an audit committee as well. And that, I think, is really important in people taking confidence that the organisation is operating effectively. So thank you very much. And I've enjoyed the personal relationships as well as obviously the business side of the Audit and Assurance Committee. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And then the final bit is the date of the next meeting. David.
Yes, the date of the next meeting. Well, it is to be confirmed. So we were originally hoping for the meeting to take place on the 9th of July, but I understand that I will be catching up with the chair for this meeting to confirm the new dates of the meeting. But unfortunately, we won't be able to proceed with the meeting on the 9th now. We're looking at either dates at the end of July or beginning of August. We'll be in touch in due course to provide an update. But suits everybody. So apologies for that.
Okay. Thank you, David. I think I bring the meeting to close. Thank you for all your contributions. Very important meeting that we've done today. I know it's quite quick, but then again, we've considered a lot of the things of the business previously, and that we are in a position to give assurance to the board next week in terms of the final approval of the annual report and accounts. So thank you and goodbye.